Okay, week 6, Streamside fly time, final week. So we're doing a tricky one just based on how small it is. But everything about it is meant to be quick, easy, other than the size. But his blue wings are small, typically anywhere from 18s and 20s. This hook though, being a 3x short, we're using a 16. Make it hopefully a little easier. Nice thing about this too, you change from olive in the body color to black, and you now have a trico or a midge. You can put a rib on it, all that kind of fun stuff. So again, change colors, you have a new bug. But we're doing a blue wing, so we're going to do it with olive. Again, pretty easy, basic Fibet tail, thread body, little dubbing, and then a material that I don't use a ton, except on these little tiny flies, would be an oiler puff. And we've got them in a medium dun. They make these in white. I think they do a dark dun, a bunch of different options, but we'll get going here. Again, this is supposed to be a quick, easy fly. We're not splitting tails. We're not doing any sort of crazy, techniques. It's just to get it done so you can go fish it. Again, so we'll get our hook here in the vise. Daunting because it's tiny, but we'll get our thread started here right behind the eye. Get a nice little thread base going. And clip our tag. Go right back down to the end of the shank here, right to the bend of the hook. Do another wrap there. Now for the tail, we're just using a Fibet tail. You can buy all sorts of colors of these. Some are barred, some have different tips on them. I'm gonna grab 4 or 5. You could use Cocktailion tails if you wanted to. You could use hackle tails, cat whiskers. I mean, there's nothing too crazy about it. We just want a little bit of a tail to help give us some flotation, some buoyancy on the surface tension of the water there. But I'm going to get about a length of the hook. I don't mind if these are a little long. That's okay with me. So I'm going to capture those on. Make sure they're coming right out the back. And because these are plastic, you can maneuver them a little bit. I'm going to wrap these up the shank to about where my thorax is going to start. Again, there's not a lot going on this fly, so we do need to be careful of our thread wraps. So that's our tail tied in. Now if you take your thumbnail and come up under these and bend them, you can kind of splay them out a little bit, get a little more natural look to it. But even though this is a tiny fly, we still need to make a little bit of a taper to it. So I'm going to spin my thread. Bring it up so you can see. I don't know if you can see my bobbin spinning, but it is spinning in a counterclockwise direction. And what that does is it flattens my thread. And that's just going to allow me to smooth out this body. I'm going to go almost all the way to the tails. I'm going to come back up the body to where my thorax is going to go. I'm going to go back down about halfway and then come back up. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to leave it at that. You can see there's a little bit of a taper, not crazy, but we want to be as lifelike as we can. Now for a little prop for the wings and a little thorax, we're going to take, this is some super fine dubbing here in Blue Wing Olive, and now I've got probably too much, but there's not much there. So again, as with everything else, it's easier to add more. So I'm going to take half of what I had, get this on my thread, and it really doesn't look like much. I mean, it just makes my thread kind of dirty, but that's exactly what we want. So I'm going to start making a little thorax here. Again, not much going on. I'll just make a little pad for my wings, which again, we're using these oiler puffs. You can use just regular CDC feathers. You'll want to cut the tips out of them just so you have a nice clean tie-off point. But with these oiler puffs, there is no tip. They're really easy to tie with on these small flies. I'm going to take 2 of them and I'm going to line up the tips so that, you know, they're even. I'm going to bunch all these together. I'm going to lay this down on top so that it goes to the back of the hook there. And once I get my length, which again is a shank length, I'm going to pinch these guys right where they're at, take my thread, do 2 passes, make sure they're on top, which they are. I like to come in, pull the butt ends back, get a couple wraps in front. It's just going to help me lock them in. Now we're going to come in with some nice fine scissors and support your scissor with your thumb if you've had too much caffeine. And we're going to come in and cut these really close to the tips, or to the eye there. Now my hook is slightly pointed down and it's falling off of the eye. I'm going to tip it back a little bit. I didn't take enough time putting it in there to straighten it out. And I'm going to go right behind the eye here and wrap up over top. And kind of finish off that head. You know, so I've got a nice little profile of one of these tiny little bugs that we see here. And now the last thing we have to do is a whip finish. I'm going to do a 3-turn. I'm going to do one more 3-turn whip finish. So 2 3-turn finishes should keep it in place. Gives us a nice little head. Come in again with our nice sharp scissors. Get really close. Again, if you want, you can come in with your thumb, hit those tails, spread them out a little bit. And that is essentially a thread body CDC blue wing.